Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry. So, we're going to be talking about PR from the OGs. Myself and Sandy Arnette, we're going to drop all the juice, all the tea, all of the tips that we can about those who really are seeking the publicity, wanting to be famous in the media, right? And so, between the both of us, we'll kind of go back and forth, but it's kind of like you'll be like the fly on the wall, like what really goes in to when we're dealing with these clients and when they say they want to hire a publicist. We won't mention any names, so you won't get that part, but you will hear some of the stories. And if you recognize yourself, it's probably not you. Okay. So we'll be talking about that right after this.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there. So, just to give you the formal bio before we kind of get into this conversation about Sandy or Sandra Arnette, she is an accredited public relations strategist. And so you'll see sometimes behind certain PR people, APR, that means accredited public relations person, right? She has 30 years plus experience in media placement, media development, event planning, coordination, and we'll talk about how all of that really fits in together, writing and obviously copy editing. She's managed media relations for Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 50 companies, including Comcast. That's kind of cool because I just spoke for Comcast Rise yesterday and Verizon, where she served as a spokesperson and advisor to corporate officials, developed and implemented strategies and communication plans and campaigns, managed crisis situations. Ooh, Sandy, planned events and promoted product launches and community impact initiatives. That's one of my favorite things. Sandy has also done similar work for government agencies in area nonprofits at the Maryland Transit Administration. She managed broadcast operations, media relations, social engagement, customer relations, and she also hosted Commuter Connections, which was a monthly TV show available to 500,000 homes in Maryland, and promoted public transit programs and projects throughout the Baltimore, Washington area. And then in 2019, she launched her own company, and that's how we met. We met through Women Elevated Women, through Betty Hines. She launched Arnette Media Strategies, LLC. It's a boutique PR consulting firms that helps their clients tell their stories and gain visibility through media placements. That is at sandyarnettemedia.com. And currently, she's the president of the Baltimore Public Relations Council and a member of the PRSA, which is Public Relations Society of America, Baltimore Association of Black Journalists. I think you probably call that BABJ, right? And then also the Consortium of Information and Telecommunication Executives. She is also the past president of New Vision Pioneers, the Maryland chapter, a network of volunteers with a long history of helping others by answering the call of those in need. And one of the things in her spare time, she also mentors you. So with that, welcome, Sandy.
Well, when you say it like that, no,
Oh
thank
my
you.
God. That is a whole lot. That is a whole lot.
Um,
Just the whole part of crisis communications, because I do not like crisis communications. I do not. I did crisis communications a little bit when I worked on the account at a PR firm with McDonald's, and it would be like,
mhm.
oh, in the middle of the night, oh, something's going on, some kind of, and it's like, oh my goodness. But
Yeah, we used to
Sandy,
have the fun of like if 911 went down, and
woo,
that used to be an interesting time. So
oh
you
my
can only
goodness.
imagine.
Yes, yes. So you are what I call an OG. So let's take it way back. So starting with reading all your background, did you always want to be in PR? What was your motivation to get into PR? And then we'll kind of talk about really the industry of PR and how it's changed.
Yeah, well, actually, I didn't always want to be in PR. I originally wanted to be a television anchor
Oh, okay.
and wanted to go into that aspect of things. And you're always told you have to pay your dues and you have to start in a really small market. And I remembered I was offered a job. It was not on air, but it was at a station. I think it was like in Tennessee somewhere. And I just realized, you know what? I think I really don't want to pay my dues and do this. So I ended up going into public relations, and I actually really love it. It really is my passion. I love writing. I love
Mhm,
helping people tell their stories.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
just, it's so much that you can do to just help others. And I always tell people, don't sit on your good news. There's so many things that people are doing that are just really wonderful things. Get it out there. Don't just preach to the choir. Tell everyone. And you'll turn on the TV and all the negative stuff that you hear. And I
Mhm.
know we have to be prepared for that too, but it's just always good when you have some, you can tell those more positive stories, especially
That's
in
true.
our communities.
Yeah, I like that. So it's interesting that you said you wanted to do television. And so television obviously moves very, very fast. It's what they call a glamour field. And so
Hmm.
with any field, you more or less have to pay your dues. But what people don't understand, and I've done a lot of shows about this on Get Out There, Get Known. I've interviewed some of my media friends, and they said when they started out, and I think even the president, I think it was Ken Lemon, the president of NABJ, he said when he started, he basically made enough money to pay for lunch, like for the week. I mean, that was like,
Hmm.
they don't realize, and he's in television today. Obviously, he's making a lot more than lunch, but they don't realize how much people want to be one on in television and work on television. And so because they have so many people vying for those jobs, they can really not pay a lot of money. So supply demand.
Right.
So someone coming out of college, they major in journalism, maybe their first job, either a newspaper, radio, or TV station, is maybe $15,000 a year, roughly like
Hmm.
750, $8 an hour. And it's like, well, I went to college. Well, if they don't take it and pay their dues, then someone else will just say, well, hey, I'll get in here and I'll do it as well. So
Hmm.
a lot of people, especially African American people, cannot afford that type of luxury. I mean, sometimes if you're with silver spoon in your mouth, you can say, oh, okay, well, I'll just do it for a couple of years and I'll stay with my parents. But a lot of students today, even way back then, they can't afford to do that. So I have so much respect for people who are in media who have stuck with it for a long time, because I
Right.
know at the very beginning it was not glamorous,
Hmm.
not pay a whole lot of money. They
That's
were not
true.
like being famous. So for them to stick in, like, so say for instance, Donnie Simpson, I think you kind of know Donnie Simpson,
Hmm.
right?
I
So
do.
Donnie Simpson started in Detroit, and he was on a radio station, and they're only working like 4 hours a day. So they're not making a ton of money when they first start. But
Hmm.
now he's making a lot of money because he's been doing it for a while, but they don't realize that they do it for the love of it and because they really are good at it. And your main thing you said was storytelling and you liked writing. So how did you know that that was your superpower, so to speak? That's what you really love to do and what you were good at, and how you fell into basically PR because of that.
Well, it's interesting because you talk about the writing. I always thought that I was a fairly good writer. And then when I worked in one corporation, we had a person that would review pretty much all the press releases that would go out.
Mhm.
And I remember they would come back with all these markings on them. And I'm like, what's going on? Like I thought this was better than that. But it really taught me something. It just taught me how to make my writing really sharp. And I
Mhm.
remember that I ended up getting a letter from her, a note, handwritten note, where she had actually complimented me that, my writing had improved tremendously. And she was really good. So coming from her, that really meant a lot to me. But I love to write. I do a lot of editing. It's funny because even before I launched my business, I used to do things for people for free, right?
Mm.
I need this, I need a press release, I need you to edit this, whether it was for someone doing something for their business or their community organization, if it was something where I was doing something for my church, it was just that kind of thing. And so the more I did it, the better I got. And so
Mhm.
there was one group that was in this, where I used to work, where this woman was editing our materials. That's when I got involved with SITE, the Consortium of Information Telecommunications Executives. So I started heading up their PR
Ah.
for this group. And I took it upon myself to just edit a lot of things that they were sending out. Sometimes they were sending letters, making requests for funding or whatever it was. And, the ask would be at the bottom. And so I just started doing a lot of editing of internal organization materials. And I think it helped me. It really did, because I could see an improvement in my writing.
And
So
that's very similar to, my major was journalism. Probably yours was journalism too, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main thing about journalism, it's not creative writing. People are, it's not creative writing. It is really factual writing. It is reporting. It is really taking a lot of information, distilling it down so that everybody can understand it. Brevity is the
Right.
if you can say something in 40 words versus 400 words, you are a great writer. So that was really like the thing, to write good, fast, and factual. It
Right.
had to be fast, working in PR. And so my first PR job was really with a nonprofit. But I had been doing PR for organizations kind of like you. It's kind of like with NABJ. I would do PR things for organization I founded, Blacks in Advertising, Radio, and Television. And so in order to tell the story, I had to do all the releases and do all those kind of things. But my first PR job was actually with a nonprofit, and it was in the development department. So we had to tell stories. We had to tell stories so that the media can pick it up. So I always tell people, and Sandy, you can kind of agree with this or not. It's almost like we're the inverted side of a journalist, meaning that we don't own the media outlet, but we have to write like a journalist in order for it to be picked up. So that is so that's why the journalism comes in, because you have to write like a journalist, the who, what, when, where, and why, and how, right? That's like a press release, but it also is the same thing for a journalist when you have the headline so that your audience will read it, or if you're putting together a TV segment, making sure that teaser is something that people will come back and want to tune into, and then it has to be shorter. So it is a lot to really always hone the craft and get better. So tell me the switch or the pivot from, and now at this point you've been working in the industry, say a couple of decades or so, and now you have your own company. So now you could do PR for anybody. So before you had to do PR for the one company.
Right.
Now you have a whole variety of different people. What is your main niche, I guess you would say, that you love doing? Who do you love doing PR for? What type of clients?
Well, I'm open to all clients. I'll put that out there first. But I do like working largely with nonprofits. And I know a lot of times they really have some really great projects they're working on, or things that they're doing to meet a need in the community. And so that always touches my heart. So I'm always, eager to help them tell their story and get the word out and really kind of highlight all the good things that they're doing. So that's my passion. I really do like working mostly with nonprofits. But of course, you work with authors, you work with other business folks, just a variety of clients I have had, which is great. And I appreciate that. But yeah, I'd have to say my heart is with the nonprofits.
I like nonprofits too, because they have good stories. So you're working with the nonprofits. So say, for instance, people don't understand that if you're doing PR for a nonprofit, yes, you're telling the good story, but the story is so that it's make everybody feel good. You got those, those stories that, oh my God, what's a great human interest story. But really it's to move the audience to something, to buy into their vision, to buy into giving money. So I was PR director of the Salvation Army. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you see those red bells, red bells up there, kettles. And it's like to raise, we had a goal, like, okay, we got to raise like $4 million in 4 weeks, right? That's a lot. That's more than the kettles.
A lot of bell ringing.
It's more than, we have direct mail and all that kind of stuff, but the PR pushes that. And that's what people don't understand, that PR pushes it so that it is, if I'm going to give money, it's because I read about it in the newspaper, or I heard about it on the radio. The client is telling the story over and over about the good work they're doing. So I want people to understand that, yes, they do they're not going to just run ads like give money to whatever the nonprofit is. You have to tell the story that engages the audience. And I want people to understand that as publicists, when people come to us, It's like we have two clients. So we have two clients. We have the media outlet that
Yes.
we have to satisfy them with a good
Mm-hmm.
story. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have a client who wants to sell something or they want people to do something, right?
Right.
So
Take some kind of
between
action.
those
Mm-hmm.
two, yeah, between those two, so satisfying. So PR people are that bridge in between. We know what the outlet wants, and we also know what the client wants. And so we have to figure out who in the middle, how do we make it so that it's not just like an ad, but
Mm-hmm.
a real story? So how do you go about, I guess you would say, really taking a client that says, I just want to sell my book, or I just want people to give money, or I just want people to come to my event, to let them understand or give them story angles? Or
Mm-hmm.
do you work with them on the story angle, or do you just listen and give them the story angle?
I do. I work, well, it's both, it can be both, but you're absolutely right. Sometimes they just want certain things and you have to do a little bit of education in it
Mhm.
to explain how the media works. So
That's it.
one thing, most reporters want to know why their audience even cares. What
Mhm.
impact is it going to be for them?
Yeah.
So I find sometimes it's really kind of looking at the message. What story do they want to tell? And
Mhm.
then how do you take that and make it newsworthy? Look at what's trending. What are they talking about now? If it's holiday sales and they're wanting to sell a book, maybe we can kind of tie it into that. So you're looking at different ways that you can hook into something. I mean, I've
Or
been
spin
listening to the radio and
or
they'll be
spin.
talking about a subject, and I'm like, my client, that's their area. Just say if it was with youth. And I'll call them and say, hey, dial into this station right now because this will be your opportunity to kind of tell
Yes.
your story. You mentioned the Salvation Army. We have organizations that give toys around Christmas time, right? So
Mhm.
last Christmas, it turned out someone stole these toys that they had a ton of toys for kids. Someone took the toys, and because they were on TV and talking about what happened, and the need, because we were so close to the holiday at that point, like our group, our Baltimore Public Relations Council, we decided we're going to support when we have our December meeting. That's part of the thing we're doing. We're collecting toys, and that's how we, help support that effort.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of getting the word out, but a lot of it is working with the client on the messaging.
Mhm.
What is the story you want to tell? It could be a conference. People have conferences every day. So you have to really look at what's happening at your conference, who's going to be at your conference, what messaging are you, what's your message with the conference to make it newsworthy that someone will, nibble on that, they'll think, oh, this is good. I think this might be something, my audience would care about. And so it's working it that way.
It's one of the things too, Sandy, that when you said and you drop it so effortlessly, right? What's newsworthy? Most people don't know what's newsworthy. And the reason why, and it's no magic in it really, it's just that
Mm-hmm.
you have to pay attention to the news. And so I promise you, I had someone say to me, I'm not saying the name, yesterday, and they said they wanted to be on a particular show in a particular city on the morning show. I said, okay. I said, we can do a pitch. I said, is the show like a hard news show? Are they at a desk? Or are they in like couches and chairs on a set?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't really watch it. Okay, well, that's the problem right there.
That is a problem.
We need to
Mm-hmm.
at least watch the show. If you wanna be in the
Mm-hmm.
newspaper, you gotta read the newspaper. If you wanna
That's
be
right.
in the magazine, you gotta read the magazine. If you wanna be on the TV show, you
Right, you
gotta
need to
watch
watch the
the show.
show. I mean, that's such an important point. And even when I line up things for clients, I will tell them, go to this link, watch these past shows so you can get a feel for the format. You
Yes.
kind of get a little bit more acquainted with the hosts, so you're ready. You're not just going to walk in there cold
Cold.
and know
Right.
nothing about it. And it
Yes.
shows. So you want to, and that goes into part of that media coaching too, just kind
Mhm.
of letting them know what they need to do, how to prepare for the interview. Sometimes I will, generate some questions. These are some things that you could be asked. If you're
Mhm.
uncomfortable, let's do like a mock interview, and we'll just try to get them at that comfort level, and then we're ready to go forward. And oftentimes they do a great job. But you're absolutely right. You have to watch the show, or you have to read the articles or the columns or whatever it is, just so that you're familiar.
We're gonna talk about, after this little commercial break, about how PR has changed now with the buzz of obviously Chat GPT and AI, but also just from the standpoint what you just said, that we could now send a link to a client and say, watch this show, where before, when we first started out, there was no link to send to a client. There was basically YouTube would just come on the scene. So we'll talk about that when we come back right after this.
Okay.
Hey, this is Pam Perry, really giving you a PR pep talk. How to get publicity. What can it do for you? Why do you need it? What's it do? How much it costs? I'm going to answer those questions in a sec. So what can quick media coverage do? It can help you increase your visibility online, extend your reach, stand out from the crowd, higher ranking on Google, so you can get found. SEO is important. That's what PR can do for you, for sure. So when you're ready, go to PamPerryPR.com. Love for you to get out there and get known. Get in all of the media that you see on the website, PamPerryPR.com. Take a pic of the packages for the PR. I'm PamPerryPR.com. All righty. We'll see you there. That has changed. That part,
I love
right
your
there.
commercials.
Thank you. That part. So when I first started, it says, oh, we can't guarantee PR. Well, we can. And it's based on a network of news sites, and it really is online. So the online has changed everything.
Yes.
It is like, it's like a train wreck. It wrecked everything the way it was. Like it wrecked, the music industry, the book industry. Every industry has been affected. Now we got Chat GPT, and then we have like guaranteed media coverage, where people can go into like the New York Weekly or the LA Weekly, where I have these different relationships. So what has been the biggest thing that has changed for you in terms of PR being, started when you did, and then what it is now?
Well, girl, I have to tell you, it was so funny because I remember back in the day when you used to do the news clips.
Oh my God. Yes.
Lay them out, and then you'd like make copies and share them with your team. It seems like 100 years ago, but it's like, oh my goodness, we have come so far.
Oh my God.
And you're right, they could be that thick.
The little clip books. Oh my God. And we used to have interns that will do that. Okay, I need you to go through and oh my God. That has changed. They have no idea how easy they have it. Oh my God. Do you remember Fax Blast? That was like a really big thing.
Yes.
Program stuff in there, and it would automatically fax to the newsroom.
Are we really dating ourselves? But yes. Oh, back in the day. And I tell you, it would take so long to do certain things. And now things are so fast now. It's just amazing how technology has evolved and gotten us to where we are today.
The favorite thing that I think that people don't understand, that usually they would have to come to the publicist because the gatekeeper would be there. And the only way you can get past the gatekeeper is through the publicist. Well, obviously now the gatekeeper is gone. So people can go directly to the journalist, whether they go on their IG, whether they go onto their Instagram, whatever, they can follow them on Twitter. That was unheard of. And that part is like the beauty of it, because now reporters are approachable. But then also now you think reporters learn to ignore more and more messaging, right? Because they're just over inundated with a whole bunch of stuff.
But that's why it's helpful to have relationships too, and sometimes just even checking in when you don't want something, or you comment on an article or something that, a show they've done or something like that. It's so important just to let them know that you're tuned into them. And I'm not always coming to you with an ask. I just enjoy what you're doing, or I want to give you kudos on, things you've done well. And by that same token, I have reached out to reporters when they have, messed up on a story or they took a different angle from what we said. Sometimes you have to call them out on that too, tactfully, respectfully, but, it goes both ways. But having that relationship and always being there, when a reporter needs you at night, on the weekends, and they know they can pick up the phone and you're going to respond. When you come back to them later and you want to pitch that client, you have a better chance because you have that relationship. So
That part when you said you must respond, and that's why a lot of people have publicists, because we respond for them. We have respect for them. We know that they're working hard. They're on deadline, so we
Mm-hmm.
understand. There was a client the other day. They were unhappy about the story that was written about them in the
Mm-hmm.
newspaper, and Google really hides a high domain authority. It's on the link, and every time they Google it, this story would come up. He says, "I'm going to take that down." I said, "You can't take it down. It's their byline." I said, "The only thing we could probably do, if things that they said is not true, then we can actually tell them and
Mm-hmm.
have a meeting with them and say this is not factual." And I said if their integrity with journalistic integrity, they will fix it and they'll do a retraction or whatever it is. And he says, "Well, it is kind of true." I said, "So we really can't do anything about it." I said, "Because that's First Amendment rights, right?" So it's like they can report on the things that are true. I said, "But
Exactly.
they're not like the National Enquirer where, it's like, oh, whatever." I said, "But if it's slander or defamation or any of those kind of things, then you can really go after them." I said, "But if it's true, it's nothing we can do."
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about crisis communications. That's a whole field there. But sometimes PR people get the that we're spin doctors, right? That we're spin doctors. So where does that term come from? Because I know that's like it's kind of like it's a slang, but then they always say that's what people are. They're spin doctors.
Right. Like you can just, magically turn things around. And
Put a different spin on it.
even with crisis communications, it's sometimes people like to hide. Something's blown up and they just want to lay low. And oftentimes that's not the time to do that. You really have to take a position on something. If it's something where your business messed up,
Mhm.
maybe own it, and
Oh,
then, talk immediately about how you're fixing the problem, how you're
yeah.
doing right by the people who were impacted. So
Mhm.
you can't just, lay low and hope it's going to blow over. You really need to. I think it really shows, a lot when you step up and you say, this is what happened, but this is what we're doing to fix it. And, and just kind of show that you're out there. And sometimes even having your executives or your clients out in the community when things are happening, not just sitting in an office or on the phone. They're out there and they're really walking and being amongst the people and trying to, or the employees, and trying to show that, we care, we understand this happened, and we're going to make it right.
That's true. I want to say a shout out to Dr. Lamar. She is tuning in and listening. And I like what you said, that do not hide, because what will happen is that the media will say, and it's just human nature, they'll say, "We tried to reach, let's say, Dr. Lamar, and she wasn't available for comment." Okay, why not, Dr. Lamar? Why were you hiding? Not that you would do that, but that's how the public will view it. And
Yeah.
so you have to have the messaging, you have to have someone that will help you walk through what it is your position will be on the thing. Don't hide it, own it, come forward, and how to fix it. I mean,
Right.
everybody's going to make mistakes. So if you are hiding it, and it's like the reporter tried to text you 4 or 5 times and this and that, and it says they weren't available for comment, it's like, okay, so now it looks bad. Even though it may not have been bad, it just looks bad.
It does.
So
And you never say no comment. We were always told you don't do that.
no,
You can always
no.
say, I'll get back to you, or, I can't answer
Yes.
questions at this time, but we're working on it. Give them something. And a lot of times when you don't give information, people start to fill in the blanks.
Mhm,
It could
mhm.
be so wrong, so it's just what they assume. But that's why it helps to have to manage that message and do so early in the game. Because if you don't, people start to assume, they
The worst.
start to kind of fill in the blanks. A lot of times it may not be correct information, but once it's out there, that's what the public starts to hear. That's what they start to believe. And then
Mhm.
you come back later and now you're trying to fix it when you
Right,
might just want to be upfront early, when it's
right.
happening.
So one of my favorite new toys is,
Mhm.
that's why I'm in the PR game as long as I have. People say, "You've been in PR this long?" I said, "Because it's always changing." So what has changed
It
now is AI. And when we are
exactly.
Women Elevating Women, we
Mhm.
heard a couple of sessions on that about AI. And I was like, oh my God. And it will never replace PR people. But one of the prompts that Chat GPT, specifically Alicia Little, giving her credit for this, is that we asked
Mhm.
her to find us some media outlets in, say, Atlanta. And then you can even prompt it and say the ones that the business beat reporters in Atlanta, or give me the business producers of the television. I mean, it will niche down enough to where you're kind of like training it, it's you personalize
Exactly.
training it, so that it can actually find your voice. So can it write press releases? Yeah, it can, but I just still think that a publicist will know what the matching the message to the media is best.
I agree. I always find I still have to put my hands on it. It's never the way I really want it. So,
no.
You can play around with it, but you do need to, you can't just put it in and say, I'm going to, pitch this. You really have to doctor it up a little bit more.
And I usually can tell, just because we've been doing it for so long. I can tell if there's a Chat GPT press release versus one that's not. I just usually can. I was like, oh my God. But it does speed up the process if you're stuck as your writer's block, any of that kind of thing. But it is the new wave of the future. Just like we can't fight Google, or we couldn't fight Amazon, or all these things, streaming. It's just part of what life is now in terms of business. So use it the best way that you can. Make sure it's, that it still will not replace the human touch. And knowing that how to use it, we're still, like right now, only 2% of the people are really using that kind of tool anyway. So it's still relatively new. But I will say that is like a game changer for PR. And the other thing, this is one thing I forgot to mention. So remember Bacon's, or that we used to have these big quick media directories.
Yes, I do remember.
Oh my God. That was like, so these people out here, they don't know about the OG.
No, they don't. And then, the turnover, and you're trying to make sure you keep it updated and get a new book, the new edition or whatever. But that was they have no idea. That is so now people can buy Cision. They can buy Cision, and they have access to that and that kind of thing. So that's fine. Or even Muck Rack, or there's a whole lot of other places. Meltwater, there are a bunch of different sources out there to get what you need.
So So anyway, so tell people how they can find you. What is the best place where they can reach out to you? What's your favorite media platform, social media platform?
Okay, well, actually, I recently launched my website, so Sandy Arnette Media. I am so happy. Yes. So all my information, my contact information is there. I'm also often, I'm on all the social media platforms, but mostly I'm like on LinkedIn and Facebook more so. So those are the ones that I'm primarily on. But yes, please go to my website, sandyarnettemedia.com. And, if you have questions or just need advice on something, I'm happy to help.
Good. And then Arnette has an E at the end.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Those that are just listening and not watching and seeing it there, that is sandyarnettemedia.com.
And Sandy with a Y. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. And then our mutual friend, Betty Hines, she is a Women Elevating Women, and that's how we met. And so this is really the true. People are like, well, you've got two PR people here. I said, well, her lane is different from mine, and we're elevating each other, so it is all good. It is all good. If we're all mentored by Betty, she's going to make sure that we're going to all be friends. So she introduced us.
Yes, she does. She makes sure we're connecting and collaborating.
That is
and
it.
Pam, honestly, you are so impressive. So please know I love what you do. I really am impressed by all that you do. And I really thank you for this opportunity. Letting me come on and be a part.
Yes. This and you know what? One of the things that you said at the very beginning that you wanted to do TV. And so now it's kind of like we are our own TV show, right?
That's right. That's right.
It all comes full circle. So it's like all of those skills, storytelling skills, they all come into fruition. The things that we do, things that we love. And you had a TV show. Remember you did and that was something that just grew out of what you said you initially wanted to do, but basically you kind of said that I need to get paid. Let me get away from this. Let me get away from this. And then you actually did PR and started doing TV anyway. So that is really good. And I always tell people to really follow your heart, do what you love. And then eventually it's going to come, probably not the way you even think, but it'll come to fruition. So,
and it will. And that's excellent advice because, what they say, if you love what you do, you don't feel like you've ever worked a day in your life.
That is so
true. And it's so true. When it's your passion, like you said, how you hang in there and you watch it develop and it grow, and how the industry has evolved. It's exciting. It's really, really exciting. So
it is. It is. And that's why we're in it for so long. We're the two OGs in here. I had a show years ago, Sandy, called Two PR Pros. I had it on a podcast platform called Talk Shoe, not show, but Talk Shoe. And it was called Two PR Pros. And it was like therapy for me because I was a solopreneur, PR boutique, and I just needed to talk to other publicists. And so we just called it Two PR Pros, and we would just talk and chat. And I think it's even still out there, but it was just like therapy for me. But people said, I really got a lot out of it because I didn't know what PR was all about. I was like, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I said, because I just talked to my friends on the podcast, on Talk Shoe.
And this is wonderful. I mean, just even kind of talking about the way things were and how they are now. This has been so much fun.
Yes, people do not remember those clip books that we had to do.
Oh. But we never have to go back there again. That's for sure.
That again. Oh my God. Well, thank you, Sandy, so much. SandyArnetteMedia.com. All righty. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
All righty. Bye-bye. Sandy is great. She is great. So thank you all for joining us, and see us next time on Quick Get Out There, Get Known. All righty. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch. In order to be considered